let's now get into the Q&A portion, which is a more interesting interesting part of this program as well, but that the people are waiting for as well. Mike, it looks like BNCOM is really gearing itself for a better future. But let me start by asking you, Russian and Ukraine war is really affecting our market, and our market is not really that good. And people are asking, we see in our social media, dami nagtatanong. Grabe, diesel prices even more expensive than gasoline. So,
right, that's right.
What if I'm going to ask you, what is the most compelling reason why investors should even consider BNCOM at this time? What will that be?
Marvin, that's a fantastic question. In every volatile scenario, there's always an opportunity. As provider for financial solutions, there are two commodities that we will provide investors. These are interest rates and foreign exchange. For interest rates, there are two sides. For those that will be borrowing, given the scenario now, inflation, rates are moving up. Tonight, the Fed will raise interest rates and maybe 3 to 4 times. If I was a businessman and a borrower, I'd like to lock in as much as I can. Mm-hmm. So the bank can provide term loans. On the other side of the fence, investors, various risk appetite. We will provide them risk safe havens, government securities if they are not risk averse. If they're risk averse, and down the line of corporate issuance according to credit ratings. So both sides of the fence will provide opportunities for Bank of Commerce to serve their customers. On the foreign exchange side, traders love volatility. Foreign exchange. But having said that, that's not client service. That's prop trading for the bank. For client services, we've got importers that we can hedge. Dollar peso is 52.30, maybe 53 if these things worsen. So we can provide a hedging capabilities. For the exporters, they'd like to book their FX now, forward purchases, so to speak. These are just examples of financial solutions in times of uncertainties. And Bank of Commerce will be out there providing those services.
Galing talaga, the banks in good times and in bad, they're there to serve you. It's going to earn money. Yeah. So Mike, what I'd like to ask you also, it has always been said in your presentation, San Miguel Group is there, your strong affiliation.
Yep.
How have you taken advantage of that relationship so far? So far. I mean, I think San Miguel, you said that 10 years na yan. But what are you now? Where are you now in that service? What kind of potential are we going to see with the relationship of BNCOM with the San Miguel?
Well, I just mentioned earlier in the presentation, what was most important was the endorsement of RSA himself. Leaning now on Bank of Commerce, it's an important part of the economy, and really, showing the money when we need capital, because they did that last year. So we cannot ask for more support and endorsement by the guy himself. Now, the ecosystem provides greater opportunities, and if I just say the word, it's for us to take. Now, it's easier said than done. In the last 2 years, delayed by the pandemic, we had to fix our internal operations. We had to get good people. We, as Anton made mention, when I joined in 2018, I got board approval in 2019 for a 1.2 billion to upgrade our systems, treasury systems, trust system, AML, and what we call the wholesale banking system that should be completed this year. There are 6 modules in the wholesale bank system. Wholesale bank is corporate banking, cash management, trade transaction, the monitoring of risk, right? And the front-end system of these things. Now, they are going to cater to the business people, the businessman. I'll give you an example. Right now, we're doing things manual, and until we shift that later this year, an example of the Petron dealer. I'm a Petron owner, and I'm going to order 1 tank full of fuel, diesel, or gasoline. So when the tanker goes to Petron wants to be paid right away. Now, if I have a credit facility to a Bank of Commerce. I will issue an online PO since we envision this to be transacted online. The PO I will get the purchase order. I will have a copy of the purchase order as a Bank of Commerce, and I will credit Petron because Petron has an account with Bank of Commerce, and this Petron dealer has an account with Bank of Commerce. So I'll credit Petron, and now there will now be a loan to this Petron dealer. We've studied that the cash flow cycle of that is about 5 days. Now, at the end of the 5th, I will now debit the account of the Petron dealer because he would have sold the gasoline and the diesel. And the cycle will now repeat. Times 1,000 Petron dealers, 1,500 Petron dealers, the Magnolia, chicken, Pure Foods, hot dog, beer. It's for us to take.
It's for you to take. So are you prepared to take it? Meaning, you were saying about the system, medyo may konti, you really need to improve that one. But
we're executing it because of the pandemic, we could, the installers that coming from Singapore, Hong Kong, and India, they couldn't come here, so they were helping us install virtually, and that is a long process. But there was a delay, and we expect the 6 modules to start being implemented this year, module.
And then that is part of the IPO proceeds that you're using?
No, that is part of the 1.2 billion that has been approved by the board. The IPO is for ATMs and core banking system. That, as you would know, the installation of ATMs will take about 6 to 10 months, and the core banking system is at least a year. So these are forward-looking implementations. And the latest core banking system will add a lot of onboarding, online capabilities, some more, the QRs, online onboarding, cardless transaction type thing. So
and that is for the suppliers and the SMEs that all in the...
Correct. Now, here's the thing that perhaps I'd like to tell your investors. That particular Petron dealer is an entrepreneur. So he has an automatic debit account with us. He's got a credit facility. We will also look at his personal requirements. So credit cards for him and his family, home and auto, trust if he is, for his investments, and foreign exchange if he wants to. So that one client is 5 products right away.
So it's just there for the taking. So let me leave you first and bring my questions to Tet. Tet, please join us. The other banks are doing it. I guess BDO, that they've been able to maximize their relationship with the SM Group, BPI with the Ayala Group, Metro Bank, GT Cap. Even Robinson's Bank is trying to maximize their relationship with the Gokongwei Group. Now, can you give more examples of how do you plan to compete against these much larger banks? Kasi I saw that you only have 140 branches, but syempre the other banks have more than 1,000 branches. So how can you compete against these much larger banks?
In terms of competing with the other banks, we compete in 2 fronts. No, the first front is we compete in the institutional and middle market accounts, which is actually non-San Miguel related, and that I think is a strategy that we're pursuing moving forward. The other strategy that we wanted to really do is tap the San Miguel ecosystem. When we came in, Mike and I were saying that I guess the easiest way to grow this bank is really to tap the San Miguel ecosystem, and you have about 1,000 suppliers of San Miguel that has not banked with us. You have about 750 San Miguel dealers and distributors across Luzon alone, which have not actually banked with us. You have 2,400 Petron dealers that have not really banked with us, and we said that immediately that was actually the strategy that we wishes to do. So from the perspective of 2018, we formulated a group that will handle the San Miguel ecosystem in a team, and as of today, the portfolio is now about 12% of the San Miguel ecosystem. So it has grown significantly, but what I'm saying is that there's actually a lot of growth potential in that manner. And the way of doing business is really to tie up with the San Miguel affiliates. No, I'll give you an example. No, when the Ginebra team goes around visiting their dealers, you know that we tag along. And every time that they do that, we present to them the businesses that we can do with them. So that's actually a strategy that we wish to continue. We just, nung nagkaroon lang ng pandemic, it was really very difficult to do that. But prior to the pandemic, we actually do a lot of convention, attending, the convention of the beer group, the food group, etc. And we do help a lot. No? One particular avenue that we're also helping is yung mga contract grower na Magnolia. No? It used to be only Land Bank and DBP that was helping them. No? And now we're saying, okay, we know already your business, and we know in our DNA, we already know how the flow is, the payment, etc. And we said, I think we can take this risk because moving forward, our counterparties here are affiliates, and we'll be able to know some of the information that is actually related to that. No? So nung time na yon, puro land bank lang tumutulong sa kanila. Now we're trying to actually help them. So a lot Marvin, ang dami. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to gain from this kind of ecosystem alone. But having said that, Marvin, hindi lang ito ang negosyo ng Bank of Commerce. We also have institutional, we cater to the large corporate and middle market. And we also have a good consumer banking team that actually goes out also and fight it out with the big boys.
Great. So tama ba na dinig ko? 12%? Like if you were to put a percent on the coverage of San Miguel ecosystem that you're talking about, tama ba?
Wala.
12% pa lang?
No. What I'm saying is yung 12% of my loan book, our book is only 12% ecosystem. But in terms of coverage, siguro wala pang 10%, Marvin.
Okay.
There's still a lot of room for growth.
And then you see that growing to what level, like in the next couple of years?
The intention is to really grow and making sure that we have people on the ground to handle them. Okay, we're putting up people in Luzon, in Isabela, in La Union, in Naga, in various key cities, because the distributors and the San Miguel ecosystem is not here in Metro Manila, they're out there. Okay. So putting in people, or RMs as we call them, to handle their businesses, we'll be able to actually grow that portfolio. Our target is really to tap at least 50 or more % of that ecosystem, and our hands will be full in the next 1 or 2 years, to be honest.
Definitely, your hands will be full. Let me leave you first. Now I bring my question now to Anton.
Thanks, Marvin.
Salamat. Anton, I read in your prospectus, and then I think you presented in some of the slides, the return on equity is not as you say, at par with the industry at 4.2%, and the others will be higher single digit or low double digit.
Yep.
Now, you failed to mention, what are your strategies in improving that return on equity? Well, what can you do to improve that?
No, that's a good question. So the board has really directed us already to at least achieve the industry average. It's the management, the board's aware of it, the management's aware of it. We know that's what the shareholder wants. So, and we know that's tied directly to what the price is going forward. So the strategy is what I mentioned before. Our goal is really to keep our expense growth at single digits, because we have 140 branches that, while not large compared to the biggest banks, it's still a significant network with a lot of already fixed costs. What we found is when we came in 2018, the low-hanging fruit is really revenue, increasing the revenue per branch. So we keep that at the double-digit growth that we've seen the past 3 years. As Tet and MRA and Mike already mentioned, a lot of that is really just finding these dealers outside of Manila. More than half of our branches are outside of Metro Manila. If we can reach these people faster, and we can book these assets with the investments we've done in technology, finally we have a mobile app These guys, before, when we first came here, we were all surprised there wasn't a mobile app yet. Now we have a mobile app. And our branches in the provinces are really good with their customers. We're trying to give them the tools to get to these clients. And we're telling them who the clients are by these trips we're doing with the San Miguel, with our other San Miguel partners.
Good. Thank you.
Marvin, may I add? Marvin, may I add?
Sure, Mike.
The greater impact on ROE comes from non-interest income, which is fees. And that's why we're pursuing the Unibank license, so that we can now undertake the investment banking, which will generate fees.
Right.
There are three components on investment banking. You underwrite syndicate loans, underwrite bonds, or equity. San Miguel is the largest issuance of any of the three. And we will be there.
Okay. Kayo na kukuha nun.
Well, we're going to be part of it. We can't take all, as you know, Marvin.
Yeah. So our retail investors will be there to subscribe to that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, my just like to follow up on Anton here. Kasi nga the book value, it was already asked here in the Q&A tab, no? The book value that you have kasi is only 14.75 as of September. Wala pa kasi yung December.
Yep.
14.75. And your offer price is 12 pesos. So that gives me a discount only of 18% or a price to book of around 0.8. Medyo mataas siya relative to your peers. Can you give us one flavor? Baka naman mas mataas na yung book value mo. So the price to book is not that high than your peers?
The price to book we were aiming at is really more of the average that our peers have seen over the past few years. So we were seeing 0.7 to 0.8. So that's kind of where we ended up pricing it. I think if you look at the average of the peers, a lot of the peers with book values lower than us, it's a reflection really of the quality of their loan book as well. I think the market, if we pointed it out, we're at 3% gross NPL. If you look at the local, because you'll see it in the news reports na banking NPL is 3.9, 4%. But actually, that's because you include the foreign banks. If you look at our local banking peers, they have significantly, there's significant gross NPL levels. And we believe our book's cleaner. And so that justifies the valuation where we're at. It's partially because, I think prior to 2018, as we mentioned, the loan book wasn't growing that fast. So we've had the advantage that we've had a very focused loan book. So when the pandemic came, the defaults weren't as significant as what we were seeing in our peers, right?
So asset quality is much better. You're more conservative.
Yes, and so we feel that, and we're still giving you at a discount, right? For those of you who are older, at some point the banks will go back again to above 1, diba? So actually, that was one of the discussions we were having at the board about doing the IPO now, because we would need to price it close to our peers. But as we mentioned, the focus of this IPO is to get the universal bank license. So that's why we are willing to price it at below the 1 book. And we believe that our asset quality will justify the 0.8 going forward.
Okay, good. Sige. Let's see that. But
Marvin,
very much.
Marvin, as our earlier discussion, we're not in airlines and hospitality. Those banks that are there.
Let me also add, Marvin. No, the ecosystem alone actually is a very clean book. Effectively, because these are transactions that we know are transpiring, and most of them have been very, we're able to actually pass this pandemic moving forward. So malinis ang San Miguel ecosystem kasi you can follow the cash flow, and it's easier rather than going out there and lending to someone middle market that probably you don't know, and it will actually take time for you to learn and learn from that relationship, no. But frankly, I would say that the San Miguel ecosystem has a cleaner book than most.
May cheat sheet kasi kayo eh. Alam niyo.
But having said that, we do transaction on an arm's length basis, Marvin.
Okay. Sige na nga. Okay. Teka muna. We already at 3:44, but we have a lot of questions from the audience. No, we asked them for advanced questions, and then and we've grouped them together. I asked the ladies to bring them out one by one. So I'll ask this, anyone can answer, but let me try to, ito na nga. The first question by Lay Justine. Basically, Russia-Ukraine. Will the global oil crisis and Russian-Ukraine war affect the banks? Sinagot mo na yung Mike. Very quickly lang.
That's right. Well, it provides an opportunity, as I made mention, no? On the interest rate scenario on both sides, investor, borrower, foreign exchange, importer, exporter. So it's an opportunity for us, and obviously I cannot not mention the proprietary trading of banks. No? So direction of Philippine economy, it will be stressed in the sense of we are severely big on budget deficit. Our debt to GDP is reaching 60%. So we will be paying more. Our grandchildren will be paying more for the government debts. Is it a good time to buy stocks that have proven resilient during the pandemic? That's our case today. We have a strong balance sheet. We're very liquid. Our balance sheet is clean relative to the others. And that's what Anton is saying. We're pricing our IPO relative to our balance sheet strength, and more importantly, the future growth.
Okay, good. So let's go to the other group. What we did is we tried to categorize them of the same kind. No, next group is about competitive edge. Maybe Anton can answer this. No, Tetet can answer this. What are the competitive advantage of BNCOM over more established universal banks? Where are the revenues going to come from?
Well, the revenues, as mentioned a while ago by Anton, is primarily largely from corporate banking. We do a lot of institutional and middle market book, and aside from that, the San Miguel ecosystem. But having said that, our revenues are really, diversified. There's a team that is in transaction banking, trust, credit cards that have generated tremendous growth for the bank. Though overall they're about 10 to 15%, but if they grow significantly moving forward, they'll be probably raking in about 25 or 30% of the bank's revenue contribution. So that in itself, we think are the incubating businesses that are within the bank that would probably lead to a more revenue stream moving forward. No?
Good.
So like what I said a while ago, one of our competitive advantages being part of the ecosystem.
Yes.
We're in.
You just have to milk that as much as you can. Sige, next group of questions. Growth prospects. Maybe Anton can take this. So what are the growth prospects of the Bank of Commerce? What is your main goal, and how are you different from the other bank stocks?
But when we talk about this, it's a little difficult for me to talk about forward stating. But we're focused on two things. If you look at our loan to deposit ratio, that's something we're focused on improving. We have a lot of liquidity now. We're going to use the universal banking license, investment banking to grow the loan book as well. So improvements in our loan to deposit ratio with the increase in fees will also push us to improve our return on equity. So all of this, while we're growing these revenue streams, we'll still be focused on cost. We're not going to spend to be on the cutting edge of technology. A lot of the technology has already been used by other banks, so we're going to invest smartly on the things that have been successful already and use that and spread it through the ecosystem. Basically.
Great. Sige. Next group of questions, business strategy. You mentioned about this, Mike, about digital banking. Can you expand on that?
Well, it's really for the taking. And number one, we now have the people. Tetet has assembled a competent team focused on growing the ecosystem. The platforms will be on stream over this year in various modules. And like what I said, it's just for the taking. Now, let me just give you a brief description. Before the lockdown in 2019, we were doing the rounds in Visayas, and that was sponsored by Petron. I have never seen a sales pitch, where Petron gathered their suppliers, their customers, and made the pitch for us. I've never seen that. I mean, from a foreign bank and all this stuff. Magliligaw ka, right? This one is they were making a pitch for us. And so it's a it's a more than door opener.
Yeah, build it and they will come.
When I say it's for the taking, that is an example. That is an example. Okay. And there are many stories similar to that one with the relationship managers, with that similar stories. I'm just sharing you what I personally saw.
But are you going to the way of the fintechs, or are you going to use your current infrastructure?
That's a good question. There is a saying: are you a technology bank providing banking services, or are you a bank using technology to provide cost-efficient, convenient services to your clients? We're the latter. So we will not be the bleeding edge of technology. What makes it cost-efficient, productivity, and convenient for the clients, we will use that technology.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. Next, I think we have a couple more. Use of proceeds. Maybe Anton can take this. Do you have plan in acquiring small banks as a fast track growth of client reach?
Let me answer that.
Okay.
I think for the medium term, it's organic growth. We need to expand our market share in the ecosystem. Now, will there be a opportunity to acquire? Let me just say we have a sponsor that has proclivity towards that, but we will not preempt their intentions. But for the time being, medium term, we're going to grow it organically. There's a lot of that made mention the headroom for growth, the market share that we still have to tap. That's what we're going to be focusing on.
Okay, good. Sige. We'll look forward to whatever plans you have.
Marvin, I think in order to add that also is, we're a very highly capitalized bank, and we still have yet to actually spend all this liquidity in the bank for us to actually look at an acquisition. But having said that, according to Sir Mike, we don't know. I mean, RSA might have intentions to acquire some other bank that is beyond our pay grade, I would say, Marvin. But effectively, our marching order is really to grow the bank organically, so that to make sure that we spend the capital wisely and able to actually deliver the growth and the ROE that is being asked of us.
Speaking of capital, meron dito nagtanong dito sa chat box. Dividends. Can you explain dividends?
Anton, answer that.
So I'll cover it. If you go through the prospectus, there is a previous agreement with BSP that we can't do dividends until we completely write off our remaining 1.3 billion pesos. So in 2020, if you look at our capital, we were at 16 billion. Tapos for commercial banks, the minimum was 15. So that's why, it was always difficult to accelerate the writing off that 1.3. There was an existing arrangement with BSP where we would do it slowly over time, about 160 million a year. Okay. But now, with this IPO, we're projecting a capital level of 25 billion versus the minimum of 20. So, the next step, once we get that UB license, is talking to BSP already and asking them if we can accelerate the provisioning of that amount. So, given regulatory approval, the board can start studying the ability to issue dividends. So, And Marvin, it's important to point out these numbers have all been reflected in our audited FS. It's really something that's just in our regulatory books. So even when we do write it off, there will hardly be any movement in our audited FS.
But will we now be looking forward to some dividends maybe down the road after this?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the goals of the return on equity, as well as getting dividends is also one of the goals of that board has communicated to us.
Sige. So I think we have one last group of questions, or is that the last? Oh, do you have a stabilization fund? Asked by Jeffrey.
Yes, we have a 30-day stabilization fund.
Okay. At least cover that. Medyo at least
I know.
Help the market with this. Good. So at this point, I think that's the last one. At this point, allow me to open the floor to some live questions. We have a few minutes more to spare. Ladies, can we bring out some some questions from the audience. Let's go through the Slido and flash it on the screen. And let me read it from Cesar. There are many banks listed on PSE and many are not liquid at all. I mean, in terms of trading, no, I think this is liquidity of the shares. What makes BNCOM worth investing? Oh, wow, it's difficult. So who can take this?
Let me make an attempt, Marvin. We're getting ourselves listed, and the float will be about 21%. So that will be the liquidity post IPO. It kind of alludes to why would I rather invest with Bank of Commerce than other banks? So here's the dilemma. You've got this bank called Bank of Commerce that's very liquid, that is highly capitalized, has a clean balance sheet, versus a bank that may be liquid, still sorting out its NPLs. Which bank has the propensity to grow? I think it's the former rather than the latter. And so growth will transcend to capital gains for the investor.
Yeah, at least 20%. That should be good. So next question. Let's get the next question from the audience. Let's type it here by Santiago. Anong advantage in investing Bank of Commerce stocks compare na straight na SMC instead? Better than San Miguel. Sige.
Well, it's the growth potential. The growth potential. I think that made mention less than 10% that we're still, starting to grow our loan book.
Okay.
Our pitch is the growth potential. I mean, it's really the headroom is really large.
Yeah.
And that's why I said kanina, it's for us to take.
Yeah, and how much beer can you take? They have how many percent of the beer market already?
90 plus.
90 plus.
90 plus. Yeah, it's still 90 plus on the beer market.
Yeah, and you're still there, just scratching the surface.
Yep.
Okay, next, let's get some other questions from our audience. From Julius, where will BNCOM rank among the top 10 banks in the Philippines? You're number what?
16. We're number 16.
16.
Yeah.
Is there any target or what are your plans?
Well, with the here's being naughty. With the merger of Land Bank and UCPB, without doing anything, we moved up one. But the serious answer is, we are going to focus on organic growth because we have a lot of market shares to conquer. Right? So our goal is growing the bank and growing the ROE. But if the ambition is asset size, I will lean to my sponsor in the medium term when he wants now to acquire and grow the bank some more. That is not my mission for the medium term. My medium-term goal is organic growth and ROE.
Great. Sige, let's get a couple more questions from the audience. I think you guys have explained a lot already. SM also owns BDO. When it comes to choosing between BDO and BNCOM to direct their business to, why should SM choose BNCOM over BDO? Asked by Rabi.
Why would San Miguel?
Question. No. Why should SM? Yeah, you talk about the SM Group, BNCOM. That's very hard to. Sige nga.
You're talking about Shumart Group or San Miguel?
Shumart yan.
Shumart.
Well,
okay.
How do you compete?
That you might want to answer that.
Well, in all honesty, SM is also our client and vice versa.
Okay.
So we're not being prevented to actually acquire businesses of competing conglomerates. We do actually coexistently among ourselves. So we do a lot of business with the SM Group from I don't want to mention the names, but we do significant businesses with them. And not only for SM Group but also for the other group as well, the conglomerate. And wala namang kaming pinagbabawal na magnegosyo with the other businesses or other conglomerates.
Yeah, and then you have these single borrowers, no?
We're prevented up to an extent of about 25% of our capital. But I think recently now BSP has increased it to 30. Probably they'll change it back to 25 once this pandemic is over.
Yeah, sige. Let's get a few more or maybe a couple more questions. We are close to our time now, but let's get a couple more, Mike, ha?
Sure.
4 o'clock na tayo.
Sure.
We have a lot more meetings, but let's take this by Gunnar. What is the long-term strategy to expand infrastructure such as ATM availability and over-the-counter transactions?
Well, part of the proceeds of the IPO is updating our ATMs. We are looking at a combination of ATMs and cash recycling machines. Cash recycling machine is in one machine, you deposit and you can withdraw. So on strategic locations, we will put the cash recycling machines. And we will be updating our ATMs for future proofing. Many months from now, you can transact QRs in ATMs or something. Card transactions. So we'll be upgrading them because of the proceeds of the IPO.
So how many ATMs do you have now, and how many ATMs do you plan to have?
We have 257,
sir.
We have 257, but the count that we have on site and off site is about 280, 279, 280. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
And the prospects for growth will actually leverage on the Petron stations, the viability of the Petron stations to have ATMs.
Yeah. I see San Miguel stores nga in Petron stations. Is that the strategy also for your
That's the beginning, yes. Yeah.
We have Bank of Commerce branches on San Miguel, yung mga malalaking Petron stations, Marvin. We do.
Okay. Let's get maybe last question. We're already at 4 o'clock. I know you guys are busy, but let's get one more question. How do you plan to compete with the rise of eWallets and digital banks? Maybe explain that again, Mike.
Okay, the digital bank is a one-branch entity approved by the central bank. Their business is basically online, not face-to-face. No? Now, they're restricted to that one, and Bank of Commerce will have more digital capabilities over time. The thing on digital bank is just the title given by the central bank. You have to be one branch only, and you have digital capability. Universal banks cannot use the title of digital banks, but they will have digital capabilities.
Okay.
So it's a misnomer. Isn't because we're not a digital bank license-wise. We don't have digital capability. We just cannot be called a digital bank.
But you have digital capability.
And expanding the digital capability moving forward.
Great.
eWallets, we are an EMI. So we have, moving forward, we will develop some more capabilities on electronic wallets. Moving forward, we have our cash cards, we have our debit cards. That's the beginning of the eWallets, and more so in the future. Because
so you have EMI license?
Yes, as a bank. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Actually, a lot of banks have EMI license. It's a no big deal.
So you can really do this. Great. So I think that's the time that we have. But thank you very much for answering the questions, Tetet, Anton, and Mike. But allow me to ask you, Mike, some last few words. We have more than 260 people watching over here, and we will be showing this to a lot more with our YouTube and Facebook channels. I'm sure they would want to hear your words of advice, or even some more things that you want to talk about.
Well, Marvin, thank you for giving us this opportunity to introduce Bank of Commerce to your investing clients. The short statement is basically we'd like to invite your clients to join us in the journey of growth.
Journey of growth.
Journey of growth. We're a growing company. We're a growing bank. Join us.
Great. With that, I'd like to thank Mike, President and CEO, Tetet, and then Anton for joining us this afternoon, for giving us more information about the IPO, Bank of Commerce. Thank you very much. And allow me to close this. Thank you. I'll see you again. Okay, to conclude, Bank of Commerce is one of the mid-sized banks that is now emerging as the newest universal bank to offer more services to its customers like investment banking and bank assurance services, as they explained. Their position in the San Miguel Group's ecosystem with its suppliers and partners like Petron, San Miguel Beer, Pure Foods, etc., as a friendly customer base, as explained earlier, will give them the strong foothold to grow their market share. As you might heard from our conversation, they are just tapping like a small share in that ecosystem. BDO has done that with the SM Group, PPI with Ayala, Metrobank with the GT Cap Group, and Robinson's even doing that with the Gokong Ways. BNCOM, I guess, is going to maximize that relationship with the group of San Miguel. With the capital they are raising, they will have a stronger balance sheet. Numbers are expected to improve, and as they bring in the needed infrastructure, technology, and banking services. Execution, however, is and I would imagine is the key risk. With the tough competition with the much larger banks, with the more extensive branch network, I guess BNCOM will have to work hard to get these new customers. They will have to prove that they can offer banking services better, or at the very least at par with the rest, and get the business, not just because they are a San Miguel affiliate. And in looking at this investment, we go back to our 4 P's in investing, as we always say to our retail customers: people, products, potential, and price. For people, you have heard them, BNCOM has hired experienced bank executives that are changing the mindset of the organization for growth. And for products, they are building their infrastructure to offer the needed banking services to the ecosystem. For potential, San Miguel is there, greatly untapped. And for price, they're offering it at a discount to their book, and hope to generate more value out of the products and the revenues they're going to generate. So the road is paved. They just have to execute. So with that, I hope we have given you some insights about the company. We will share a copy of today's webinar, and we will send you research by email. Again, we want to remind everyone that having this conversation is not an endorsement or a recommendation. We do this for the audience to have a deeper understanding of the company and have a better appreciation of their business and know more about the people behind it for a more informed decision. For future COL Conversations, register through the bit.ly COL Conversations events so you can be part of our invite list. So once again, I'm Marvin Fausto. Thank you for watching. See you in our next conversation.